All right, guys, welcome to the third Zoom safari. Um, my name's Nathan Askew. I'm a professional hunter, and I own a company called Bullet Safaris. We operate in multiple countries, and one of my favorite things to do is leopard hunt, and that's what this Zoom is about. Um, it's a very in-depth hunt. It's a very technical hunt, and it's probably the most unsuccessful, if we call killing an animal a success or not. But it's just leopard are tough, and there's a lot that goes into it. I've been a big student of it. I started off a long time ago in Mozambique. Well, not that long ago, about 18 years ago in Mozambique, and really focused on cat hunting my whole career. It was just something that I was really into. But we'll get into some of that as we go. Now, the purpose of these Zoom meetings, even though I do most of the talking, it is not about me. This is about hunting, and this is about the proliferation of our sport. This is about getting good information out there, and it's to provide a record of information for future hunters. So I appreciate the participation in these meetings, and it came about due to the COVID crisis and everybody being stuck at home. And quite frankly, I got a little bored, so I decided to do a series of meetings. So the first meeting was on dangerous game. The second meeting was on anything Africa, and those two had separate formats. The first one was a prearranged question or two from each. The next one was a kind of an anything goes, very free format with a lot of the attendees talking and throwing in advice, and it was a great meeting. And this one is going to be a little bit on the lecture side of things, just because I really want to be able to cover a lot of information. And really, we're going to have to move through it pretty quick, and I doubt, how in depth we can go on each topic of leopard hunting or each thing that surrounds a good leopard hunt. It'd take days of Zoom meetings to get into that. But anyway, the format will be, I'm going to break it down by section. Anytime during that section, please feel free to hit the chat button and type a message out. Mr. Whitley, Mark Whitley, is going to keep record of the questions, and then he'll pick two or three and address you when I take a break. And then you can ask that question. We'll expand on it. So that's kind of how we're gonna do that. So any questions, type it out. Mark will get them. And the reason I picked Mark is I've known Mark for a while. He doesn't know shit about leopard hunting, but he is going on a leopard hunt now. I figured that that's a good combination, because I know he'll have a lot of the same interest, and he'll think your question is a good question because he'll probably have the same question. So I enlisted him because I'm going to have to keep to my notes and keep it pretty straight. So that's Mark. Now, so anyway, that's the introduction. I'm going to go ahead and kick it off, unless anybody has a immediate thing that I can help them with, or if everybody's hearing me well, then I'm going to go ahead and kick off this leopard hunting Zoom. All right, looks like we're good to go. All right, so the first thing, and probably without a doubt, the most important thing with a leopard hunt is scouting. Scouting obviously takes a lot of different forms, and what you guys that are interested in leopard hunting, I mean, what you're doing now is you're part of the scouting. You're thinking about it, you're gathering information, and that's also scouting out, because the second most important thing is probably picking your country, your area, or your pH. All three of those things are very, very important as well. And that scouting is done on the client side. You've got to be very picky. In my opinion, you want to be very picky when you go into a leopard hunt. And a leopard is a specialized animal, right? Your average guy from the East Cape of South Africa, you probably wouldn't want him to take you to the jungle of the Congo to look for yellowback daikon. It's a special animal. It's a special hunt. Pick the right guy, and probably, you want to pick a cat guy that has a good understanding of leopard and has a track record in a good area. Now, if somebody, I believe somebody's speaker is on, if everybody can mute their speaker, that's going to cut down on some feedback for this recording for us. Excellent. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. All right. So also for the hunter is the countries that hunt, right? I mean, there's lots of countries that hunt in Africa. There's very few, well, there's fewer that hunt leopard and have an exportable CITES quota for leopard. Okay, so the general countries where you can hunt leopard as an American and get it back to the country of the United States are going to be Mozambique, Namibia, Tanzania, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. South Africa used to, but now they have no leopard quota. Maybe that'll change. I kind of doubt it. When you look at those quotas, when you look at the CITES quota of leopard for each country, right? So scouting, obviously, you start big and you work it down. If you look at what CITES, which is the Convention on International Trade in Endangered Species, they are supposedly a non-biased worldwide organization that does scientific evaluations, and they decide how many leopard an African country can hunt, and they give them a maximum exportable quota of leopard. Then every country goes into its own program on how they hunt the leopard. I'm not going to get into that, but there is some major concerns in some countries with tags and paperwork and other things that you really should look into in depth on your own, and get information from the outfitter. But if we're talking just CITES quota, now this is scientific information assembled and presented to this organization. So if I go through the list, Mozambique has an approved CITES quota of 120 leopard. Namibia has 250 leopard. South Africa used to have 150, but like I said, marked that one off. Tanzania has a quota of 500 leopard. Zambia, 300, Zimbabwe, 500. So as you can see, there's a big difference in the amount of what CITES considers leopard habitat and or game populations in these various countries. That's a big difference. To go from 500 in Zimbabwe and Tanzania down to 120 in Mozambique tells you a lot about game density and wild areas in that country. That's something to really consider. You really want to analyze, do due diligence and analyze that type of stuff on your own, and know enough to ask really sharp questions to the person you're fixing to write a big check to. So that's quota there. We go to the well, I guess the other thing would kind of be, I had to go through some assumptions on each country. Now, assumptions about success rate and what's the best leopard hunting country and which place has the biggest leopard and which leopard are the easiest and the hardest really depends area to area. There are some very general things that hold true, but I'm not really here to talk down or talk up one country over the other. But they are not all created equal when it comes to success rate and or leopard hunting opportunities. My advice, like I said, find a good country, find a cat hunting PH that you want to spend 14 days with, probably under some stressful situations and hard work, and then make sure you're hunting a good area. So anyway, now you've got, actually, I'm going to take a short pause there. That's not where I was planning, but I'm going to take a pause. Mark, was there any questions off the bat, or do I keep rolling?
No, nobody sent any over on the chat yet.
All right, perfect. So good deal. All right, so now you've picked an area. So this is continuing with the scouting. Now you've picked an area, you've picked the PH, you put your deposit down, and now it really comes down to the professional hunter's job and his scouting efforts and that groundwork that he's laid for your safari, your leopard. Where I start, or where anybody that understands cats, they should start in the area with rivers and roads. Rivers and roads, guys. Cats are a creature of habit, and they're actually lazy. They like to walk. They like to walk either the fastest way, but more often the most comfortable way. And the most comfortable way for a cat to walk is on a riverbed or on a road. Consequently, that's a great place to pick up tracks. And then by the tracks, you can start to move on to the second thing in scouting, which is accumulating of knowledge and current sign on the ground. Knowledge of the area. You know, are you seeing leopard from the road? Did your PH see one when he was building the camp? Or did he just show up on the plane you showed up on? You know, did he find a lot of tracks on this riverbed, or did he really see a cat being active on this road? Those type of recent signs are going to be where you're going to obviously start. But more importantly, and what's been a good thing to our success, is older intel on what we've seen in the past, where we know cats live, where we know where a male cat's territory is, and where we've shot leopard in the past. You know, we shot a leopard 3 or 4 years ago. There will be another male leopard in that area. They replace each other pretty quick. Maybe it's not the biggest male, maybe it is the biggest one out there. But old information where they shot a leopard 10 years ago, where they shot one even 15 years ago, in these big game areas, that's good information to have. Once again, we're relying on our local African friends to provide a lot of that information, and it's very, very valuable. For me, the old intel and tracks I've seen in GPS over, well, one of my current areas I've got since 2013, I've been hunting there. So I've got 7 years of information. I know individual cats. I know their territories. I know how old they were when I had them on bait in 2015, and I know that I want to kill them in 2020. That type of intel expedites the process and targets my effort. It targets my baiting effort. And anybody that's been on a cat hunt, you know that baiting cats is hard work. Doing it right is very, very hard work. So that type of information and sussing out a cat's territory is very important. Now, leopard, they're a creature of habit, and they're territorial. These male leopards, they patrol and protect a home territory. They do that because it's their livelihood. That's their hunting ground. That's also the bar where they pick up women. It's got everything. It's got food. It's got water. It's got girlfriends. It's got cover. And the biggest, best, strongest cats typically control the bigger, better areas. Now, game density plays into a lot of that. A lot of people will probably ask, okay, Nathan, well, what's the square kilometer territory for a leopard? Well, the answer is there is no answer. There's a range, right? In the Salou Game Reserve, very, very small territories. In Mozambique, huge territories, because he's got to walk further to get food. He patrols a bigger territory. These cats actively patrol and hunt at the same time. They go on their merry way doing cat things, and knowing his boundaries and knowing how he's going to move within that territory is very important. Knowing, for the professional hunter, knowing why that is a territory. Well, it's a territory because there's a mountain range here for cover and food. There's a river here for water. And there's a bunch of plains game that move back and forth. That's why it's a territory. You got to pay attention to the ecosystem. So those three things, well, the other thing is when you're sussing out these territories, you want to make sure that you're dealing with different cats. That comes down to track identification, knowing your area, knowing typical sizes of territories, and being able to decipher that, hey, this riverbed kind of cuts Bigfoot from Littlefoot over here, two different male leopards. I've named them everything that you can think of, but you got to start naming these cats and tracking their movements because you'll find them there year after year. So make sure it's a different cat. That's going to play into your effectiveness on baiting. You'll see some movement of cats in some areas depending on the season. Most of the areas that I've hunted and have experience in, I don't see too much of that. Generally, a cat's territory is going to have everything it needs to make it through a full year, right? They are not a migratory animal. If he was there in 2017, he'll be there in 18. He'll be there in 19. He's going to be there until I decide to hunt him. Anyway, that's scouting in a nutshell. Some people start the day of your hunt. Some people start the season of your hunt. Some people start 2 and 3 years before your hunt. So once again, a cat guy in the right area is going to have all those kind of tidbits of information for you. And the scouting really plays heavily into the success of the hunt. So that's scouting, guys. We got any questions on scouting here?
Yeah. Nathan, Nick Muckerman sent one over. I'll let him ask the question. And then I have one as well, but I'll let Nick send his over or ask you his.
All right, perfect. Nick, go ahead and fire away. What's your question on scouting?
So Nathan, pertaining to the scouting and pertaining to obviously the range, what's your, and I imagine this is going to vary, but when you cut a male, you cut a mature male, how long, in your areas until they're circuiting back into that area? I know it's a range. My only experience is really with mountain lions and trying to catch up with those with my hounds. But it's going to depend on if the thing, gets a kill, finds a female, whatever. But kind of what do you look at if you say, okay, he's left the area? When do you expect him to circuit back through?
All right, that's an excellent question, Nick. And you're a cat hunter, so you took a few things out of my mouth, right? The first thing that you took, which is great, you said that it's going to depend if he has a kill. That's going to slow him down, right? It depends if he finds a female. That can also slow him down. It depends if he has an intruder. All these cat things that happen in a cat's life, like reproduction and fighting and traveling, all those things can affect it quite a bit, right? Now, generally speaking, the smallest territories that I've hunted, a mature male leopard, it's going to take him 4 to 5 days is the smallest. And that would, once again, I'd go back to the Selous ecosystem. Selous ecosystems in Tanzania, lots of cats, very average sized cats, beautiful markings, coloration, all that stuff. You get a good cat there and there's a lot of them. They don't have big territories. There's a warthog and an impala around every tree. And so you'd say 4, 5, 6 days, he could work a full circuit, no problem. The biggest I've seen is probably about 18 days. When I started baiting cats in Mozambique in the Tet province, I would literally see some male cats work 18, 19-day circuits, right? I'd catch them back in the same riverbed 19, 18 days later, right? Now, and they wouldn't always show up at the same spot in that riverbed like they do in some of my other areas, right? Some cats I can, in 2 or 3 days, I know he's going to walk down this drainage and make a left turn and piss on this rock, and then he's walking up here to hunt dike.
Yeah.
I know that's what he's going to do. I've seen him do it, right? I've seen him do it. Or I've seen his tracks. So that would be the range. I'd say normally speaking, you'd say 5 days to 18 days. And that's a huge difference. That's a huge difference. So
now, in this slough, what would be your kind of top end with the slough?
depends. Once again, depends on the area. The sloughs,
Sure.
a huge game reserve. There is some very, very good areas in the slough. There is some very, very bad areas in the slough. There's big rivers, there's mountains, there's floodplains, it's got everything. That's why it's a National Heritage Site. So just because a guy has a place in the slough doesn't mean it's going to be good necessarily. And if it's a concession that's been around for many years and it's a company that maybe overhunts a little bit, once again, you're in the right spot, but too many cats have been taken, decreases your chances as the hunter. Now, is very few outfitters are going to sit there and tell you, no, I don't want your $40,000. I don't think you got the best chance this year. Why don't you book 3 years from now? You know, it's tough for a guy to say that, but it's also tough to outlay the capital and go pick up multiple areas to give everybody the best chance they can at a cat. And it takes a hell of a lot of work. So once again, it's a fine balance. And if you're dealing with a cat guy and he has your best interest in mind, all of those things will be weighed out to put the client in the best position, in the best area at the best time. But, you know, it really is that's kind of a what if, you know, it's kind of a what if question.
Thank you, Nathan.
All right, 10-4. Whitley, go ahead and fire away and let what you got.
All right, so like when we chase a whitetail, right? Like an older, mature deer. Say you've got a whitetail on a camera that you want to kill, right? He's a 6 or 7 year old deer. If he smells you, you know, we always used to go in when it was raining to hang a stand or something, trying to keep from getting smelled.
Yep.
Is the apex predator like a leopard or a cat? If he smells you, is he going to react the same way as an older deer would, and almost avoid that area? Does he get freaked out if he smells you, or you bump him out of there, or he sees you like a deer would?
Gotcha. So in a lot of ways, you can equate the habits of an old cat, whether it be an old lion that's on his own or a mature male leopard. You can compare several of the habits between that and an old whitetail, right? They do have a range most of the time. You know, they got a range. They got their own interesting quirks about them that control movements and things. But leopards are an apex predator. Old leopard is not scared of anything. He may be educated about things, but he's not scared of anything. In our areas, I don't see my impact as a person or a vehicle. I don't see that initial impact or shock of, oh shit, there's a person, and you never see that cat over here again. No. You may have startled him when he was coming out of the bathroom, but you haven't run him out of his house, right? So now, like an old whitetail deer, you bump him out of that thicket,
He'd be gone, yeah.
Yeah, he very well may not, and he may change his bedding area. Now, the thing is, what I've noticed over time of chasing cats in different places, that is the overall effect on the cat and how it affects your hunt changes a lot country to country. Not because the cat necessarily left, it's because a cat in parts of Zimbabwe, South Africa, parts of Namibia, those cats are very, very used to humans. They've lived their whole life working around them, avoiding them. They know what a person is. They know they don't want to mess with them, and they know how to get around you. So you really have to adjust your tactics. Your guide must adjust his tactics for the area once again, because I can handle cats. I can handle cats in Tanzania or Zambia or, you know, like parts of Botswana where they used to hunt. You can handle those cats pretty roughly, meaning you're not careless with them, but like I've seen a cat from the truck laying underneath a tree. Well, I've actually seen them with their kill in a tree or under a tree. I have ran that cat off with the truck. I have pushed him away from his bait. I tied it to the same tree, and I shot him that afternoon. Now, that's not going to happen in a place where a cat is heavily influenced by man. He knows there's a problem there, and he ain't coming right back. In some places where there's lots of cats and they don't really care what you are, they just want their warthog back. So there you go. It really depends on the cat in the area, but good question. Good question. Anybody else before I move on to baiting? All right, we move on to baiting. Now, baiting is the hardest, smelliest, most time-consuming part of a cat hunt. And if to be effective, you're going to hang a lot of baits. Or to be effective over the long haul, you're going to hang a lot of baits. You're going to do a lot of drags. You're going to spend a lot of time watching the trackers climb a tree. You're going to spend a lot of time breaking branches and cutting shooting lines. It's a time-consuming, very difficult task, and it's even harder to do it correctly. So basically, if you don't enjoy the process of a cat hunt and the process of the baiting, you may want, I wouldn't discourage you from doing it, but it may not be something you really want to get into because it is a lot of work. The philosophy behind the cats, how they work, the territories, the plan you and your PH are making, all the work that goes into setting that trap that brings in that elusive animal. That's the hunt. The pulling of the trigger on any cat it's great, but it is not the most rewarding part of that hunt, in my opinion. So what you can expect on a cat hunt is long hours on the vehicle, covering a lot of ground. You can expect to smell a lot of dead meat and rotten material. You can expect long days and a lot of hard work. Now, what you can do as a client to enjoy that and add to the success, right? The success of your hunt, it really does depend on y'all in a big way, is, really try to go along and participate, right? Some of the, if I'm guiding a cat hunt, I've got a lot of things in my mind. I've got this plan, the next one. I mean, we got a time schedule. We're humping it. We're getting things done. And if I have a guy that's just, sitting on the truck, not interested in anything, which is the process that's going on, then my mind starts to wonder, well, is Mr. John happy, or is Bill tired of baiting, or does he, should I drop him off at camp, or he's upset that we didn't track buffalo. Well, you can't track buffalo and bait leopard. You have to go bait leopard, and you got to stay on that program till you kill your cat. Once again, specialized animal, specialized hunt, stay the course, bait, scout, bait again, all that stuff. You got to stay the course to be successful. So participate, right? Be involved, pick up a panga, knock down some trees, help the guide scout the blind site, help them, drag the meat out of the truck. Just do what you're comfortable with, but be involved, because then you're gonna feel the reward when it happens. You'll feel rewarded. My second thing is for a client is ask questions, ask a lot of questions, and ask why, but don't question the PH's plan or his movements. You've hired him, you've already paid him the money, so hopefully you picked the right guy. Let him do his job. He probably has a plan. If he doesn't have a plan, well, then I hope you're lucky, right? But let him execute his plan. It is a process. It is a long-term. It's a 14-day hunt minimum for a reason. It's a process. Let the PH and the trackers work through it, but ask a lot of questions. Ask why. Educate yourself. Be involved. Number 3, as a client, shoot your bait well. without the bait, we have trouble baiting the cats. The So be prepared to get on the sticks and drop an impala at 200 yards. You know, you gut shoot that impala. We have a moral obligation to find that animal. I will spend, if it takes 2 days, I'm looking for 2 days. That's the way that I hunt. So I need my hunter to do his job. I need him to shoot bait well because I need the bait. And you're not going to have a lot of time, right? You're not going to have a lot of time to go track a herd of buffalo or spend 2 hours on a hartebeest stalk or find a sable with 3 legs. I mean, what you're doing there is you're effectively cutting down your bait knife. So try not to wound any animals. Everybody does it, but be prepared, shoot your bait well. All right, so that's on the client side, guys. That's how you can enjoy your leopard hunt. It is a process and be part of it. All right, so now we're into baiting. Now, the actual baiting of it and how I approach it, everything is in the interest of preventing problems down the line, right? Every step has to be executed correctly or else you create problems down the line. And you create problems down the line when the clock is ticking, right? We don't want to have a smart cat on day 13 of a 14-day hunt, right? So there's a plan and a process to this. The second thing is baiting and success on finding a leopard. It is a function. It's a function of meat versus time. The more meat and the more time, the more leopard you're going to have. It's that simple. It's a function of meat and time. Now, what I like to do is I have a plan going in. I have and it's like, like a boxer. Muhammad Ali or Tyson said everybody's got a plan till they get hit, right? So you're going to get hit. Things are going to change. The plan's going to change. But I've got a plan when I start the hunt. Our areas, so I'll talk a little more about how I do it here because I hang a lot of baits. I don't know how many I've hung in my career, but I hang probably 70 or so baits a year, at least. We do a lot of baiting. So I have a plan for this client's hunt. I want to hunt the west side of the concession. On the west side of the concession, I know there's that cat with the short tail that I saw 2 years ago and have pictures of him on bait. I know that next to my old fly camp, there's another male leopard. I know that on the way, there's a mountain range, and in that mountain range, I think there's probably 1, if not 2 other leopards. So I've got 4 male leopards minimum picked out to start my client's hunt. My goal at this time is to get 2 baits up for each male leopard on the cats that I have allocated to that client. Now, how do we do that? We start hunting. Shoot an animal, chop them into pieces, go to the first cat's territory, and then the process moves on like that. Now, I say 2 baits per male leopard. Now, I'm obviously putting those in the best area in that male leopard's territory where he's going to be moving the most frequently, right? I'm pinpointing in on his travel corridors, his hunting areas. So I say I start with 2, but I've hung as many as 4 baits for a single cat. If you have the time, do it. But what I want 2 of the best locations for a minimum of 4 cats to get this hunt rolling. And I'm going to keep those baits going the whole time until my client has a leopard in the stall, period. So now we get to the actual, the pattern of the bait. So I kind of went through that scenario of the west side of a concession, right? Well, that's actually true. On the west side of a concession, I did have a leopard with a short tail. But on the way there, I could bait all the other leopards, and I could do that in a good day's work. I could get around that circuit with all the things that happen, right? Stop for water, fix a flat tire, check all the baits, hunt animals, I can do that in a circuit. So you want to make sure that you have your travel plans worked out, because a bait, your baits need to be checked every single day. Really, you put a lot of work into these. You should be putting a bunch of work into them. The pH before your hunt, and then during your hunt, which I'll get into in a second, which is the actual hanging of the meat. But there's a lot of work that goes into them. And it's not just putting a piece of meat out on the savannah hoping for something to show up, right? It is a strategic location. So you should be checking your baits every single day. Don't get suckered. Do not get suckered into, well, maybe we could track that herd of buffalo for just 2 or 3 hours, right? Surely we'll get back to the truck and we'll be able to check the 7 or 8 baits that we have in front of us. Come on, Nathan, let's go track these buffalo. No, let's not go track these buffalo. Let's not screw this up, because what'll happen inevitably, the 5th bait down the line that you didn't get to will have a male leopard. He'll feed for 2 nights, polish it off, find a girlfriend, and be gone. That's a problem. We don't want that to happen. Now, all right, so anyway, try to stay on course here. So we're getting down to the actual hanging of the bait. The location obviously is a good travel corridor or a good hunting area, or he's on his way to water or something, right? So you pick a travel corridor or a good location. The first thing you're going to want to do, the pH should pick the blind location first. The cat doesn't care what tree the meat is in. Pick your blind location. Once again, I'm preventing problems down the road for my hunter. I'm maximizing his success. Pick your blind site. There's lots of things that go into a blind site. A few of those, I'm not going to expand on them, but a few of them are your entrance and exit as the hunter. Is it out of the way of the cat's entrance and exit to the bait? Does it provide a good view of the bait tree? Can you see the bait tree? Does your blind in relation to the bait tree, are you on the right side of the wind, right? You want the wind blowing away from where the cat's going to sleep. If he's feeding here and sleeping over here and water's over here, well, hell, if your blind's here, you don't need the wind going that way. So you've got to look at all these things. So picking the right blind site is of the utmost importance. I could talk about that for a long time. So I'm just going to go ahead and leave that there. Maybe there's a question about a blind site coming up here. But pick the blind first every time. Then you move on to the tree. The second thing is the tree. I like a good branch, obviously, where if you can get a skylight, a silhouette thing, that's good. We do not hunt in the dark in Tanzania. In some areas in Mozambique, it's allowed. Some areas in Zimbabwe, it's allowed. Some areas in Zimbabwe, it's not allowed. Namibia, it is not allowed. I left out a country. Zambia, it's not allowed in Zambia. So you got to play by the rules of the country, right? I mean, that's part of fair chase. So with that being said, shooting light, and when a cat comes in, not a lot of time. So that a good branch that silhouettes the cat and gives you the most light on that cat at the moment of truth can be very valuable. Cover. I like to have cover around that tree. I like to have good shade, a good sleeping area. I want that cat to spend as much time around that piece of meat as possible, right? If he can eat, drink, sleep, and his girlfriend shows up, perfect. He's there all the time. We'll get him. It's just a matter of timing the cat in. The second thing, when you pick a tree, if you're in a good hunting area, an area with a lot of animals, you're going to have lions. If you're on a leopard hunt, the worst thing you can have is a great spot where you know there's a leopard and you hang a big piece of meat and the lions climb the tree and totally hammer your zebra leg. And That's 4 feedings for a male leopard, gone. That's an animal you shot, transported, and tied up, gone. That's lions in the area, 2 or 3. You know, they may not clear out for a couple of days. You've lost that site for a couple of days. I'm very, very conscious of lions. They are very good at climbing. Male lions will climb trees. They will steal your bait, and they eat a lot. So I'm real picky about how I hang, about the branch and whether a lion can feed. All right, now we get to actually tying on the meat, right? Okay, so that's a process of dragging it up the tree with a rope and all these things, but it's a little more technical than just strapping a stake to a stick, right? It's a little more technical than that. I like to use a natural material. I like to use rope. Several reasons why. I've used wire, rope, chains. I've used everything. I like to use rope, and I've got good reasons for it. I am sure that I secure that piece of meat on the limb, not only that the cat can't break it off, but I don't want him to move it. Right now I'm setting a trap, and if anybody's ever run traps or tried to trap a wolf, a coyote, a bobcat, every step that animal takes is planned out. I do the same thing with my leopard. Every step is planned out. I know right where that cat is going to stand on that limb, and I want him to stand right there. So I make sure he can't drag the bait backwards and move it to the crook of a tree at the worst possible time, and my client can't get the X on him, can't squeeze the trigger, right? Secure the bait to where he can't move it, and get all that stuff right the first time. Don't screw it up and have to redo your situation when you got a leopard laying in the bush over there listening to your every move. Once again, prevent problems down the line. All right, so the second thing about actually tying the meat, make it a little bit difficult for them to feed, right? A heavy piece of meat hung a little bit low, well, a female cat and her kittens can't finish it off, right? They can climb down on it and eat a little bit, but she can't hook it and bring it up on a tree because I've hung it just a little bit low. So for each different animal, for each different piece of meat, I have hung it in a way that extends the time that piece of meat will be fed on, and that's very important because you will get females, you will get young cats. So make it a little bit difficult to feed, and you know, we're not trying to shoot female cats, we're trying to shoot big mature male cats. So you have to know what a big male cat can do and what he can't do. So hang the bait effectively. That's the PH's job. All right, so once the meat's tied up, now it comes down to preparing the area a little bit. With a second, before I come down and start preparing the area, I hang a trail camera in the tree. I make sure it's got full batteries to the best of my ability. I make sure it's operational. All that's tested ahead of time. You hang a trail camera in the tree. There's lots of techniques and things that go into that as well. No need to get into that. You'll see what works and doesn't work as that goes on. But there's lots of technique in hanging a trail camera. There's certain trail cameras I like. There are certain ways that I hang them that provide me with more information. I don't need to see spots. I need to see certain things about that cat. So just hanging a trail camera doesn't get you all the info as fast as you can get it, and information is key. So anyway, once the camera's flipped on, we're coming down from the tree and we're going to clear everything around the base of the tree. We do that as a backup plan. That's one of the many places where I will confirm how many cats. I will confirm the size of the cat. I'll confirm the track to see if I know that cat or maybe it's a different cat. So I like to have a place where he'll leave a track at the bottom of the tree. He's also, we're going to clear where I think he's going to come from. I'm going to clear places and loosen up the dirt where I get a good track of him coming and going. That provides me with a lot of information. Do that ahead of time, right? You show up to a bait, it's been hammered, but nobody cleared anything and the trail camera failed. Now we've lost a day at least, right? We've got to do all that. We've got to see if we're going to blah, 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 like the process goes backwards. We don't want to go backwards. All right, so once that's done, we clear the area for the blind. I don't build the blind, but I clear the complete area. It's a, it's a, whatever, enough for 2 people to sit. So we're talking like a, 7-yard by 3-4 yard type of box. And we clear all that out, right? Because I know that's where the blind's going to be. You got to be, all that's cleared. The shooting lane is cut to the tree. I'm doing all these things so I don't have to alter the environment once the cat is actively feeding. Remember, you're in that cat's living room. He knows it, right? And when he shows up, he's paying attention. So why not have all the trees moved around and the grass cleared and have everything ready? It just makes it easier down the line. And it's less change to that cat when you start making changes to actually hunt him. It's less things have been altered in his environment. Very important. The last thing we do, and is a real important part of baiting, the last thing we do is we put out scent, and we put out a lot of it. And that job's terrible. I still do it to this day. It is very disgusting, and I carry around a gut bucket, which is horrendous and large. It has all types of animal parts inside of it. It has water added. It sits out in the sun for days on end, and we open it about 20 times a day, and you get to smell it. So it's terrible, but it's important. It's liquid gold when it comes to cat hunting. So what I do is I hang a piece of gut in the tree. Why do I want a piece of gut in the tree? It smells worse than the fresh meat, right? It provides a downwind scent trail. That leopard can downwind a dead animal, just like a bird dog can downwind a quail, right? So I've got a scent trail going in this direction, in the air. Important. I hang it up high, I hang it in the tree. Second thing I do is I take some of that soup and I dump it on the tree. It's nasty. After that, I do all my gut drags, which are going to rivers, roads, travel areas. I drag these guts back and forth to the bait. And that's providing a scent trail, and that's expanding kind of my net to catch this cat, right? If he's gonna come walking down this road and the wind is pushing that way, but the only suitable bait site is on this side of the road, he can walk past that bait, maybe never smell it, maybe never see it. But if I've done a gut drag on the ground to that road and he crosses it, he'll put his nose down and he'll follow it to my tree. So you're using scent to attract and get these cats to funnel into your bait. One of the most depressing feelings is when you've done all this work and then the right cat just strolls by, right? I mean, that you've just missed him. And then, like we pointed out, maybe it's 5 days he comes back, maybe it's next month when he comes back, right? So putting out the scent, it's a big story. All right, so that happens at every single bait site, and it happens until we kill a cat. We continually bait until we kill a cat. At some point, you'll not have enough meat. At some point, you'll have more than you can check, right? So then you start dividing the distances between your baits. There's all these techniques that you kind of, all these ideas that you manipulate as the hunt goes on. But basically that's baiting, and that's how it happens. So then you got the running of the baits. Once again, check baits every single day. You really should check baits every single day. And then as a client, you can be looking for sign. You can be helping with every single part of that, right? There's a lot of stuff to do at a bait tree. Keep you involved, and it's fun, right? I mean, if you enjoy that type of stuff, then you're going to love cat hunting. I mean, because it is a mind game. It is planning. It's a lot of. It's just, to me, it's fun, and it's an exciting deal to get those cats to do what you want them to do. So every time I show up on a bait, right? So now we're into the checking phase of things. Every time I show up at a bait, somebody climbs the tree. It's not maybe not. Climb the tree. Look for tracks. Many times cats will climb up a tree. They may inspect the bait, but they may not feed, right? Then if it's late in the hunt and that there's something, that bait's going a little bit off, and I can see claw marks on that tree, I'm going to entice him to feed. I'm going to swap the bait. I'm going to change something to pique his interest. So climb the tree, look for signs. Check your path for tracks. Check the dadgum trail camera, right? Pull the chip, check the trail camera. Religiously, you do these things because you don't want all this work and then one to slip past you. You drag and resuit and do all your scent stuff. I do it every single day, every single time I check a bait. There's lots of stuff that goes into that, but I do it every single time. Just because a bait goes bad does not mean that spot is bad, right? A cat hunt lasts a long time. A bait may go off. I drop it. I put a fresh one up. So keep those spots going. Have confidence in your spots. If you start abandoning spots because the meat dried up or went rotten, then you probably wasted time even starting that spot. Once again, it's a process, and see it through to the end. If it's a good spot and I've scouted it, I know a cat's going to come past it. Maybe not on this safari, but by golly, he'll come past it. So I'm going to stay the course and stay with that site. More the better. The more the better. The more baits you can get up and check, obviously, the better. Once again, it comes back to a function of meat and time. Don't get spread too thin, right? That's probably one of my faults as a cat hunter. I just keep hanging stuff, and I always want to see what's over the next hill, and I always want to find another cat. Don't get spread too thin, and if you do get spread too thin, make sure you've got a good crew of trackers, apprentice PHs, and vehicles, and a lot of diesel, so you can utilize bait vehicles and keep them rolling. Some companies offer a baiting vehicle as an add-on, whatever. The point is, check them every day, and it's better if you and the PH are checking them. That's the best scenario because there's decisions that need to be made when that cat hits. All right, that is a lot of me talking about hanging meat in a tree. So we're going to pause here, and I want somebody to ask me a question.